Model building could be described as a representation of history in a 3D puzzle. A popular hobby throughout history, it really picked up in the mid-1950s as injected molded plastic models began to proliferate in hobby shops. One of the most popular genres is military aircraft, with those of the Second World War being amongst the best sellers. But right behind them would be jets. Today, we will build a model of a historically significant United States Marine Corps jet and talk to one of its crew in this episode of Boxed History. Hello everyone, and welcome to this episode of Boxed History, where today we'll be using the Tamiya F4J 132nd scale kit to help tell the story of Major Lee Lassiter and Captain John Cummings, the only Marine crew to get a confirmed air-to-air kill in the Vietnam War. Their aircraft is the very aircraft that's represented in this magnificent kit by Tamiya Models. The Vietnam conflict is often thought of more as a ground war than an air war, with the UH-1 Huey helicopter becoming an unofficial symbol of America's involvement there. When people think of the air war, it is usually more in the vein of bombers trying to avoid surface-to-air missiles, or SAMs. But air-to-air battles, dogfights, did occur, although it was usually Navy or Air Force pilots and their Phantoms and Thunder Chiefs and Crusaders, twisting about the sky against MiG-17s and MiG-21s. The United States Marine Corps aviators were usually carrying out close air support or CAS missions for ground forces. This makes sense as CAS was their specialty. Dogfights were extremely rare for the Marines, but they did fly MiG Combat Air Patrol missions, or MiGCAPs, to provide top cover for the CAS missions. As the American involvement in the conflict was nearing its end, the Marines had yet to make an all-Marine claim for an aerial victory over a North Vietnamese fighter. Two Marines flying in mixed service crews had claimed kills. One was a Navy and Marine crew, and the other was an Air Force and Marine crew. But that would change on September 11, 1972, when F-4J Phantoms operating from the USS America were assigned a MiGCAP mission just north of Hanoi in Haiphong Harbor. They were to go out looking for MiGs ahead of a strike force of Marine Corps A-7s that were to hit targets near Hanoi. The details of the missions are taken from interviews and a 2015 speech that Colonel John Cummings gave on the mission at the Naval Aviation Museum in Pensacola, Florida, as well as the audio tapes from the recorder that he wore under his survival gear. Pilot and flight leader, Major Lee Bear Lassiter, and his radar intercept officer, or RIO, Captain Little John Cummings, led the way. Their call sign was Red 1. Captain Scott Dudley and his RIO, Captain James Brady, were Red 2. The Combat Control Center aboard the USS America is call sign Oswald, and the rescue ship, USS England, is call sign Red Crown. The tanker's call signs are 525 and 522. Things began to go awry shortly after leaving the carrier. Although the F-4s did carry an external centerline drop tank, they still had to meet up with a tanker to top off before heading inland. When they arrived at the rendezvous point to meet the tanker and refuel, the tanker was not there.
But our first glitch was that the tanker wasn't where he was supposed to be. And we were briefed that it was a radio silent departure. So we looked and looked for the tanker, and finally I had to break radio silence and say, "Hey, Al, where are you?" And he answered, and we got refueled. Bear and I did. We went first in our wing, Scotty Dudley and Dr. Jim Brady. We're halfway through getting their fuel, and I told Bear, hey, the strike force is coming right now. I got them on the radar. We got to get off the tanker and get into our position. We were supposed to go ahead of the strike force, and we were going to be part of the blocking combat air patrol to keep any MiGs from coming down from the other part of North Vietnam. The part of North Vietnam that was the target was very close to the coast. And so we were going a little bit farther inland, about 40 miles, to stop any MiGs that might come along. And lo and behold, the guy on the cruiser, the USS England, said, "Red 1, I've got contact for you, bearing 260, 60 miles.
About 35 miles out, Bear punched off his centerline drop tank. About 10 miles out, John started to pick it up on radar.
Bear saw it first, or you saw it first, or Scotty? Who saw it first?
Scotty.
Scotty saw it first. Scotty still, he's got a little less fuel than you do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The MiG is reported to have had an experienced Russian instructor giving combat training to a North Vietnamese pilot. Bear and Little John's Phantom was from Marine Corps Squadron VMFA 333, the Fighting Shamrocks, and fighting was what they were about to do. As Bear and Little John closed in, the MiG pilot must have seen them and began a tight turn with the Phantom hot on its tail. Bear and Little John had recently returned from a special school the Navy had just begun for air combat maneuvering. They were only the fourth group to receive the training from this school. Their Phantom had 8 missiles on it, 4 radar-homing AIM-7 Sparrows, a missile that was designed to shoot down large bombers flying in a straight line, and 4 heat-seeking AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles, which were made more for the dogfight. Bear used 2 of the larger radar-homing Sparrow missiles, but the MiG expertly evaded them. Being light on fuel, the MiG was very agile, and its crew were aware of the Marines that were after them. Using all of his skills to maintain his advantage as they flew a tight high-G circle, Bear fired a volley of the last 2 Sparrows and 2 Sidewinders. The MiG evaded both sets of missiles. Finally, nearly out of fuel, the MiG made a dash for home, which allowed Bear to get a solid stern shot with another Sidewinder missile. The AIM-9 tracked perfectly to the target and exploded, nearly cutting the MiG in half. The MiG crew reportedly ejected, and the Marines had their first confirmed air-to-air victory by an all-Marine crew in the Vietnam conflict. But there was no time to celebrate. Red 2 spotted a dark silhouetted MiG that went right past them and was trying to get into firing position on Red 2. Bear only had 1 missile left on his rails, but he got into position and made the shot count, damaging the MiG and shaking it off of Red 2. But now they had a new problem, as both Phantoms were very low on fuel, and they had to get out by overflying Hanoi and Haiphong Harbor and its extensive air defenses. Here were 2 Marine jets over the middle of bad guy land with precious little fuel and SAM missiles coming in from various directions. Little John even shouted "SAM trap" as missile alarms blared over their headsets. He looked out and saw the holes in their wings. While Bear kept the plane flying towards the ocean and the relative safety of being feet wet, what remained of their fuel gushed out of the right wing. They were also on fire. They were just able to get feet wet before the fuel was all but gone, and the Phantom's tail burned off. It thus went out of control. Bear and Little John ejected under high G loading, but were rescued. Their wingman, Red 2, also ran out of fuel, but also made it feet wet. Although the Marine Corps lost 2 F-4s that day, all 4 of the crew were safely recovered, One MiG was destroyed and another damaged. The Marine A-7s bombed their target without loss, and the United States Marine Corps had a confirmed air-to-air victory and a probable against the North Vietnamese Air Force. Bear and Little John were eventually each awarded the Silver Star. The building of the model was made much easier by the fact that Tamiya Models of Japan makes a 1/32nd scale F4J in the very markings of their exact aircraft. The highly detailed, large-scale kit is so big that it requires screws in addition to glue to assemble it. I used Tamiya spray can lacquer paints for the airframe and Tamiya acrylics for everything else. Although the kit comes with an excellent cockpit, I decided to use the Red Fox 3D printed cockpit for interior panels. They really make it pop. I used almost exclusively Tamiya products, masking tape, glue, and thinners, as they all work so well together. I did use CA glue to hold the photo etch parts and Red Fox cockpit panels in place. I used the decals that came with the kit and was impressed with how thorough Tamiya was with them. The metal landing gears screw into place, which gives a secure mounting for what is a very heavy model when done, and the model sits on its nose naturally. It requires no nose weights. Once the finishing touches were on it, I presented it to the Colonel for his opinion, and he was quite impressed with all the detail. Then we talked about his career in Phantoms, including the MiG kill, his pilot and friend Bear Lassiter, and his 2 ejections, one over Vietnam and one over Yuma, Arizona. So now, let's hear from Colonel Little John Cummings himself.
This, you guys really you didn't miss anything, did you, here?
I think you mentioned one point that that wasn't your regular airplane? Or
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
Okay. So your names wouldn't have really been on the canopy side.
No. Well, they did later on, but at that time, we were using the same airplane, but once we got out to where we were fighting, and we lost our airplane, so I didn't have another airplane at that time. We didn't know whether we were going to go into the Mediterranean or not. We were there.
Okay.
The first time. There were a couple of other guys that were officers, and then the rest of them were guys that did the stuff down in the
hangars, light hangar deck, and the maintenance. Now,
so and we weren't sure what we were going to do. We would stay with the squadron. Well, they're all it changes from time to time there. Yeah.
Were Marine Squadron in Vietnam? Were Marine squadrons common on the carrier? Because I know a lot of them were land-based, and I think somebody said you were the only ones on a carrier.
That's true.
Okay, but
mostly
all Marine pilots are carrier qualified. All the Marine fighter pilots are carrier qualified.
In a sorta.
So did you guys have to train up before you went out on the ship?
Yeah, we did that a couple of times.
Because some of the photos I saw of the various Marine squadrons that were land-based, and this was the only one I saw that was on a ship.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, we had them. They're actually mostly land-based, actually.
Since you spent your whole career in Phantoms, you'd been on the F4B before the J. And I understand the equipment on the J was quite an upgrade. The radar and everything was much better.
Yeah. We weren't as good as we ought to have been, but we also had different stuff in our airplanes. And some of them were, yeah. For example, in the business with, they promised me that, okay, yeah, you're going to get this and it'll be the best ever and all that. And I was sitting there and I look down and that's the only, they had to put the damn thing down there where I had to go here and I can't even see the thing, and so I eventually just quit messing with it and says that.
Well, when I was putting both the front and the back seat together, of course it's got the mirror and it's got all of the equipment. I mean, they just crammed that cockpit till there was just no space.
Well, I'm glad they got mirrors in that.
Yeah. So the mirror was of some use then.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And even the pilot, I was looking, Bear sitting there, he's got all those little warning things up on top of his dashboard and the HUD. I'm like, forward visibility in this airplane must have been pretty limited.
Oh yeah, yeah, and Bear Bear of all guys, because Bear really liked to get the kids to make sure that he had good mirrors and good visibility.
Now, I understand that Bear was actually one of the early, I guess today we would say Top Gun guys, but he was one of the early dogfight guys.
Yes.
Because everybody become missile jockeys, and I read his bio, and it said he was one of the ones that really got into air combat maneuvering in the family.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was
apparently very well respected as a fighter pilot.
Extremely, yeah. Well, for one thing, we went to Top Gun, yeah.
And it was new back then.
It was. We were the fourth guys. We had 4 of us, 4 teams. And the other ones were all Navy. God, it was great. Because we were there, you know, and Bear and I knew most of the Navy guys, but anyway, but they wanted to make sure that, put it this way, after we did one of the better times that we did, and Bear and I. We didn't have the other Marines couldn't they couldn't do it because they were tied up with something else and so anyway, Bear and I just said, hey, let's go for this, and we got everything. That night we couldn't get a drink from us. They were buying us drinks.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They were buying you drinks because you guys' performance.
Yeah, and in fact, a lot of these really high guys in the Navy, they just loved us, and we got to land. I mean, we got under the weather, but then we had to go back up, and so it was we were going against a machine gun thing that it was they were, and it was.
You got, according to the citation, you put everything right on the spot. I mean, it was a pinpoint hit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now, just so anybody watching this can get the dynamic, you're flying a 500, 400 knot airplane in the clouds around terrain to pop out the bottom and hit a camouflage machine gun nest in the jungle close to Marines and then fly back out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say you earned that DFC for sure.
Yeah.
That's faith in the guy you're flying with, for both of you.
Oh yeah. Well, he was a good guy. I liked him. I had a couple of different guys that I flew with there, and
now you were doing a mid-cap, so you weren't carrying bombs this time.
that's right.
So you had your 8 missiles, which is why I configured the model this way. 4 Sidewinders, 4 Sparrows.
That's right.
And I only put the wing tanks on it because I wasn't sure what your fuel configuration was.
Actually, I guess I should have pointed out that this one would have been mostly that.
Oh, the centerline tank?
Centerline tank,
Okay.
yeah.
You remember you had the wing tanks or just the centerline tank?
Just the centerline.
Well, now I have to put the model back on. I had the centerline tank, I'll just go swap it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I watched your video from Pensacola, and I listened to the tapes a couple of times. So I guess the trouble began with the mission once you guys had already launched, that the tanker wasn't where he was supposed to be.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I still think about that one because it really pissed me off when. Yeah, well, they had a place where they said they were going to be,
And they weren't.
And they weren't.
So you finally found the tanker. But your wingman, Scotty Dudley, I understand he was not able to take on a full load of fuel.
That's correct.
But you did.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys got your fuel, but Scotty was still trying to take fuel when I guess it was Oswald,
Yeah.
started picking up the MiGs over Flukin.
That's right.
And I guess at this point you guys are running behind schedule now because you're supposed to be out there ahead
That's
of
right.
bombers.
That's right.
So now you've got to burn extra fuel to get to where you need to be to protect the A7, A7 flight, I believe.
Yeah. We were all right. We had enough gas to fight,
Okay.
and then to get the hell out of there.
Apparently the MiG saw you, and it turns into a turning battle.
A little bit of that. Yeah.
But he managed to stay behind you. He never let the MiG get.
Well, he helped to use Scotty. He helped him a lot,
Okay.
and then Bear caught up with against and going after the.
And you guys loosed a couple of sparrows at him, but he defeated them.
Yeah.
You think this is I've read different reports. A lot of them say there was a Russian instructor in that airplane.
Maybe.
So
Who knows?
Yeah, really, you never. But from what I was able to gather, whoever was flying that MiG knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
I believe your comment in Pensacola was the nice thing is when you fire those things, you get rid of 400 pounds of dead weight.
Yeah.
No.
We were right, but we were starting to worry about getting out of there, and so but Bear, I kept asking Bear how's that's going, Alan, and so we were both of us were worried about that.
Apparently, you guys are completely unaware they'd sent a couple more Phantoms to help you, but they wound up getting shot.
We did not know about that, but
they
we
got
saw
hit on the way in, so they had to turn right around and go back.
Yeah.
Then Bear wound up shooting 2 Sidewinders and 2 Sparrows, just trying to.
Our missiles were the Sparrows. We didn't like the Sparrows, and we just punched them off mostly. But we did, Bear was. No, it was basically we kind of talk about it later and talk about we use the Sparrow to make us lighter.
Mm-hmm. So it really was just getting rid of dead weight because you're pretty sure they weren't going to track.
It was, and it so it wasn't.
$1 million paperweights.
Isn't that a bunch of crap? I mean.
So then the MiG finally makes a break for it. Finally, Bear gets a clean stern shot, and thank God he only used 1 Sidewinder. But you say that split that airplane in half.
Yeah.
So when it worked good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now you got the problem. Either you or Bear, or one of y'all sees that another MiG-21.
That was Scotty.
So did this MiG wind up getting behind Scotty, or did you? I know you guys went after him.
We did, and Bear had another missile.
Now, had this MiG tried to get behind Scotty, or?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So at this point, you're just trying to save your wingman.
We didn't know he was there, but and then all of a sudden, Bear saw the guy, and he said, because he's talking to Scotty. No, Scotty, okay, Scotty, let him go. And, yeah.
You saw it damaged it, but it kept flying.
Yeah.
But it broke off contact. Scotty was safe.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so you guys still had about 20, 30 minutes of flying time. Now I have to get to the tanker.
Yeah.
But you had to make a beeline out over Hanoi and Haiphong to do it. Now, that's what...
We got over Hanoi finally. We were right here. We passed over Hanoi, and then we were out here. So that was what we did the day before.
The day before.
Yeah.
So when you were coming back this time and you go over Hanoi, all of a sudden now everybody's shooting at you.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you so you were almost over the water when you got hit.
Uh-huh. We were having some problems there, and I had a vision of trying to just get to the ship and make it to where I get supper. But that was long gone. And of course, Bear knew that. He knew. And,
You know it was already over.
Yeah.
You did you know you were on fire?
I knew I was on fire because the whole damn world was telling me about it.
Okay, so people, but you didn't like look out and see flames or anything. They were all back behind you, I guess.
That's right. I didn't.
No, okay. But the tail burns off. You guys are spinning and nosing over, so I guess you're pinned to the ceiling. Still don't know which one of you guys are able to grab the ejection handle.
I don't think. I think I was. Well, he thought that he got us out, and I thought that I got us out.
And you'll notice on the model, I made it a big point to get those black and yellow stripes, the right number of black and yellow stripes on your ejection seat handles, because I know how important they are. It's ironic that they paint red, black, and yellow high visibility color on the ejection seat handle and then put it where you can't see it.
Ain't that, yeah.
Airplane, your parachute opens. Do you remember how high you were when you ejected? Any idea? 10,000?
It wasn't very high.
Okay.
I thought it was pretty high, but I was hanging from the parachute, and I just got there, and so then I started to
Get ready.
and I was already there. So
You guys weren't very high then.
No,
Did you see Bear's canopy while you were?
Oh, yeah.
So you knew he got out also.
I knew that too. Yeah,
Scotty had to eject also, but you didn't know that.
I didn't know that because I don't think I didn't see him at that time. I know he was there somewhere, but I was worried to make sure Bear was here.
So I gather you lost sight of Bear once you were in the water.
I think I was already. I saw Bear. I think.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
You weren't that far apart.
I don't think so.
So you get out of your parachute, you inflate your dinghy. And apparently you had after all the adrenaline and all the negative G's, now you have to, and again, having done this myself, a lot of people don't appreciate how hard it is to get into a raft from the water without help.
Oh, I did. I mean, yeah.
But you struggled with it.
It was. Oh yeah.
It was hard.
Well, the kid that was, he was sitting there. I mean, he was treading water right there.
Oh, the rescue swimmer?
The rescue swimmer. Well, I said, if you knew how hard it was, I'd tell you.
Well, so the helicopter was there pretty quick.
Right, yeah.
So they got you or Bear out first? Who they fit?
Me.
Okay. So they hoist you up into the helicopter, and then the next part of your story with the
water. I mean the booze.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's the best part.
Oh yeah.
So they slap a cup full of cold duck in your hand. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. You got to give the Navy credit for doing things with style. So they pick you up, they pick Bear up. You guys head back to the, I guess you landed on the cruiser first. So, I forget where.
That was a really nice guy, by the way. That
captain of the ship?
Yeah.
Well, he has a helicopter crews carry cold duck for down cruise. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a very considerate individual.
Yeah, and
Now you guys get on the cruiser, you're soaking wet, wearing your flight suits. I think you said some of the Navy technicians took your recorder, which is why we have and they were able to salvage the tapes.
They were.
And that would become real important later.
It did.
So, did they give you a shower and some dry clothes on the ship, or they just put you off to the carrier still soaking wet in your flight suit?
That's what we did. That's what we had.
So they just...
Well, we were mostly, we were so in. Everybody wanted to talk to us.
Oh, you were celebrities, yeah.
Yeah. And we wanted to talk too, and you know, eventually. And the thing was, I don't think we ever got any bed there. I don't think we.
So you guys, as soon as they could like refuel a chopper or something and get you over to the carrier as quick as you could.
Yeah.
The admiral in charge of the task force was wanted to see us. I thought probably to congratulate us. Not quite. You don't lose a couple of airplanes in combat and not have friends in high places. So we got a chance to meet him and his staff. But on the other hand, I was ready for a fight too. I mean, wait a second there, Buster, where the hell was your tanker, you know?
Yeah, right.
So, but that tape saved our asses. Once we played the tape, once we discussed this whole saga with Admiral Christensen, he was a good guy. By the way, you don't get to go see the big admiral just by yourself. We had the CAG and our squadron commander, John Cochran, were there too. And as we finally finished up, and oh, by the way, me and the staff guys, he said, well, you guys shot the MiG down here. No, we put that MiG in his own backyard. That whole fight stayed on the east end of Fukien runway. So that was the story of an average day.
Bear and I were flying a week later.
A week later. So you got a table reserved for yourself because of the red eyes?
Yeah, well, actually, Bear and I, we stayed together because nobody else was gonna.
Tell me a little bit about Bear. What was he like? I understand he had an outstanding reputation within the Corps.
Oh, he was. He was a great guy.
And apparently a consummate fighter pilot too. I mean,
Oh yeah.
So what did you guys do after the war ends? Then what? You move off station or?
No, we just did normal stuff. I mean,
Training and.
we did. I got Bear got a couple of. Bear was right there, and he got excited, and he got the whole squadron and stayed there, and then he got another place to. Well, he was actually before that. I went down to Pensacola, and then later Bear got there, and
So you teamed up again in Pensacola?
Yeah.
Now Bear was the executive officer at the time of the mission. And you say he later became the commanding
SEAL,
officer.
yes.
It was just natural progression.
It was.
And I know he eventually got promoted to lieutenant colonel.
Bear was great, but the Corps didn't like certain things about Bear. He was too heavy for him.
I noticed he was a full-figured sort of guy, which was a little. I know the Marines have sort of an image.
It was so bad. Bear was God. He
had some health issues, or?
Yes, it was health issues.
Because I do know that sadly he passed very young from a gallbladder surgery that went bad. But you stayed in the Corps, and then we get up to 1975 out in Yuma, and just, tragedy chases you again.
Isn't that funny? I mean, and I was the operations officer, and I told this dickhead, and anyway, it was an easy thing to do, but the thing was, he was the guy that I'm talking about. I'd known him for a while.
Oh, were you in the lead ship or the
lead ship?
You were in the lead ship, okay.
Yeah. And then we'd done the stuff we were doing, bombs and stuff like that, whatever.
And there's 2 of you or 3 of you?
3 of us.
So you guys are getting into the traffic pattern, I guess, configured. So what, as best you recall, what happens? What do you remember happening?
The guy flying the airplane was, he broke into the wrong place.
So he turned into the other airplane?
I knew I was looking at the ground.
So the airplane, were you like inverted? Oh, okay. So you're at traffic pattern altitude upside down.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I worked my way around up.
You guys hit, your plane rolls upside down. You're looking at Mother Earth real close. You piece together what's happening very quickly. Pull your handles.
And by that time I I had a good shoot.
For about how long? 2 seconds?
I think I probably bought it. Almost did.
So that parachute opens and you just hit the ground almost immediately right after.
Yeah.
And
now the other airplane, he was all right.
The number 3 airplane.
The number 3.
But the other 2 Phantoms both went in, and I think you said 3 of you got out and 1 didn't.
Yeah.
Did your pilot make a good ejection, or was he the one that was killed?
He's the one that got killed.
Okay, so the guys in the other 2 guys in the other plane did manage to get out.
No, the guy, the other guy didn't make it either.
Oh, so there were 2 fatalities.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the other Rio?
The other Rio never flew again.
But he got out.
He got out.
So the Rios escaped, both pilots were killed, and the other Phantom wasn't touched.
Yeah.
Wow. And then you hit the ground and they come out, and all of a sudden they're not as nice to you as they were when you ejected over Vietnam.
Yeah. Oh, hell, I mean, the doctor, I mean, he was really wanted to hang me there. I mean, and he said, don't be too sure, because that the guy, the Navy guy, the doctor is still trying to catch you. Yeah. So what happened was my boss, a colonel, I've got to watch out for you now, and so I said, yeah, I'll.
So you went back flying after the second ejection. You flew the F-4J. Did you ever fly the F-4S, the one with the slats?
Yeah.
So you flew 3 different versions of the Phantom. What was your favorite?
It really didn't make much difference there. I mean,
The Corps, and you went in as a private, right? You enlisted and went all the way from E1 to 06. I mean, that's in itself no small feat.
yeah.
I have to go change drop tanks on this now to get the right configuration for the mission.
Yeah. Oh, you're doing great work.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I mean, I really.
And Tamiya, the company that makes this model, they also make the F-4B. They apparently, I haven't been able to find out what made them choose your aircraft. I think one of it is the F-4B was a Navy markings. They make the Air Force version. I think they wanted to have an option. And now, this model does come with the option for Navy decals for a particular squadron. And Tamiya tends to make these larger models air crew specific.
Oh, good.
And I think they wanted a Marine, and of course, well, you guys had the only Marine shoot down, so it sort of fit in perfectly. But you said that, if I remember correctly, you said that you'd heard that they made a model of your plane, but you'd never seen it before this?
I don't think I did. A couple of people gave me those things up there, and they're,
Yeah, the pre-made ones, yeah. And those are beautiful.
they are, but I've got and the little one there.
Yeah. The big advantage those have is they're made to be on your desk. These kit models are so delicate, you touch something, it breaks off. You know?
Yeah.
So, but the kit's an excellent kit though, and since I'm in the kit modeling world, this automatically makes you, in my little world of kit modeling, a celebrity.
Oh, good.
You've had your airplane made. That's about as high an honor as it gets. You know?
I love that though.
And the modelers, the people, we call ourselves glue troopers that watch the Max's Models YouTube channel, they ask about you all the time. How's the Colonel doing? Have you finished his airplane? When are we getting the pictures? When are you making the video? So they're all very much looking forward to this.
Oh, good.
They all said the same thing. Now that he signed your box, you should have him sign the airplane. And but they said, you know that now it's an artifact. It's no longer just an old model airplane. It's an artifact because you're a historic personality. I mean, you hold a place in aviation that that very few people do. And,
Bear. I always try to make sure that Bear was there before. When I'm telling people about that, I'm just not. Bears is the one you really want. You really want. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Well, everyone, I want to thank you. I hope you enjoyed this first episode of Box History, with special thanks to retired Marine Corps Colonel John Cummings, who was so generous with his time. We hope to see you guys on the next episode, and as always, model on.